Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Dylan, Ben, Connor. NFL previews today. NFC North. We are back. NFC North. This is one I've been very excited about. One of the best divisions in football. Rivals the AFC North, ironically. But before we get into today's preview, we're brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Get your tickets at SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast today. Dylan?
No,
Nothing.
Not today. Not today.
All right. We took it off today. It's Friday, August 23rd. Dylan doesn't have.
I'm mailing it in,
He's
baby.
mailing
it in already.
He's mailing.
We're talking about the NFC South today. I know it's not this episode, but like, what do you expect from me? To bring my A game? Absolutely not.
That's when you need your A game, is for the best division in football, the NFC South.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's why you didn't click on this episode. We're talking NFC North today. We're going to start off with the Lions. Lions plus 140, plus 130 on certain books to win this division, plus 130 on FanDuel. Over-under win totals at 10.5 right now. They're back. Literally, they add to their secondary. That was their biggest problem last season, in my opinion. They have the best offensive line. There's no questions about that in football. Jared Goff back at quarterback. This team is essentially the same, except it just got a little bit better on the edges. So, Ben, I'll start with you with your Lions. Take us away.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that this is a team that made the NFC Championship game last year. It's a miracle they made the NFC Championship game last year with the corners they had. That's incredible. And we're pretty close to going to a Super Bowl if they just didn't have that epic collapse, pretty much. But I just like where they added. They didn't do anything crazy, but they just added the top 4 corners are new. You're adding Kevin Zeitler to replace Jonah Jackson, which I think is at least like net equal, if not a net positive. Mm-hmm. DJ Reader, I think that's a massive addition. Someone next to Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson with Marcus Davenport on the other side. If Marcus Davenport is someone who can stay healthy, that's a really good defensive line, because the pass rush outside of Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil, that defensive line was meh. So I think you just got better pretty much everywhere. The one place where I have questions about the Lions still is depth at wide receiver. They didn't really address the Josh Reynolds departure much at all. That's something that could worry me. But I think the biggest key with the Lions is out in training camp, like sort of the thought process or what you're seeing is that Jameson Williams is about to make that like massive leap. Looks like he's just putting everything together. And if he does that, I don't really wide receiver 3. It's kind of like whatever if you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. So I think the key here is seeing how that secondary gels and seeing Jameson Williams, because if those two things are vastly improved, this is a team that's competing for the Super Bowl and has as good of a chance as pretty much anyone in the league.
So you're gambling on Jameson Williams then. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, I am.
Sorry. We can move on.
I'm glad you brought up the Jameson Williams point, because the training camp footage is just porn for a Lions fan. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Have you seen it? He looks unreal.
He looks like a bigger Tyreek Hill in these training camp clips. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible. And last season when he was in training camp, everyone was like, this dude doesn't know what he's like. He's not running the right routes. He's dropping every pass. Like, you can see Jared Goff's getting all frustrated. It's like everything for him just has started to click. Mm-hmm. And like, if that's the case, because like, I don't know, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a slot guy. He's kind of that gadget guy. Like, I'm thinking if you're drawing comparisons to like the 49ers, it's like the Lions need their Ayuk to St. Brown, or to Samuel, to Debo. And it's like, I'm thinking we might be getting that, because if there was one thing that offense was missing, it was a legitimate downfield threat, like a vertical threat. And if they're getting that, they're in really good shape.
Yep. Someone like Donovan Peoples-Jones. That's who you're talking about, right?
Yeah, but
Michigan man.
Yes. I'm hoping that comes to fruition, but the training camp reviews on him have not been very positive, and there's questions if he makes the 53.
Wow.
Everybody's anti-Michigan. Everybody's anti-Michigan right now because of the allegations. So I wouldn't put too much weight into that, right?
I'm
boys?
pro Aiden Hutchinson.
Exactly, right?
Oh, but not
Great.
DPJ. What's the key difference there? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's a big defense guy. He's a defense guy. Ben's always been a defense guy.
No, DPJ is a guy that like I want to work, because that's the one thing. If the Lions are still missing something with Jamison Williams looking really good, it's like the big bodied 6'3" guy. Because Jamison Williams, although he's a vertical threat, he's like 6'1", rail
He's like, what,
thin.
100 pounds soaking wet with his long sleeves on under
Yeah,
his jersey.
yeah.
Can somebody tell him to just cut those off? Don't wear
Literally
those.
the opposite of Kelvin Benjamin.
All right.
He is like
Karter-
5,000 Popeyes biscuits away from being a tight end.
Karter, all right. I'm Manuel Neuer. You're Messi. Kick it to me. Come on. Hey, kick it to me.
No. Wait,
No?
what do you mean?
I'll give you a little roll.
What are
Kick it
you
to me.
talking about?
Hey, Dylan, what do you think about the Lions?
Dylan, what do you think about the Lions?
Nice. Okay, so a lot of nice things to say there. Last year as a show, Ben, I don't know how much you watched it, but we gave the Miami Dolphins so much gruff for not being able to beat good teams. No one wanted to talk about the Lions being in the exact same spot. You look at their wins last year and their losses. I don't think you could show me one good team they beat last year.
The
The Chiefs.
And that interesting point, right? Because they're a Kadarius Toney drop pass pick six away from losing that game.
Fair.
And that was
Tony
week
had
one,
like
right? No Chris
It was week-
Jones.
yeah, Chris Jones wasn't playing. I think
Yeah,
did,
no
did
Kelsey.
Kelsey end up playing?
No.
Yes.
I don't think
Wait,
Kelsey
no,
played.
No, that
No, he
was
didn't.
week one, yeah.
Mm-mm.
So we could say the Chiefs fine, great team, but they were obviously missing some pieces. A little bit of that could have been circumstantial. I mean, their losses, Seahawks, which was in overtime loss.
Yeah, they
Ravens.
just lose the Seahawks for some reason. I don't know why.
Ravens,
They always
Packers, Bears, Cowboys. When they faced a semblance of a good team last year, they did not show up. And then we could talk about Goff being a dome merchant, and you could say, he benefits from playing in a dome. 8 games of the year plus any away games that might happen to be in a dome. We're all in relationships. We all know about being dome merchants. Whatever. Actually, Ben and Connor, you shouldn't be, but Karter and I. The point I want to make here is, Ben, I will never doubt what people say about their team, because no one knows your team better than you, better than fans of that team. And I will concede the offensive line is going to be great. Penei Sewell, big fan. I'm in line for Penei like I'm waiting at Olive Garden, right? You call him Penei a la vodka, because if you think you're getting to Jared Goff, you're drunk. You're drunk. Do you think this team can win a Super Bowl?
I think they can, yeah.
I would not agree with that, unless the road to it literally was the easiest path and it was all in a dome.
And it was covered. Yeah.
And the path was literally covered by a big old dome. You see, they beat the Rams last year at home. They beat the Bucs last year at home. Two teams that the Rams were good. Bucs, I think, were kind of fraudish. And then they play the 49ers in beautiful Santa Clara. And granted, it was a close game, but they lose. That is my only worry with the Lions this year, is that Goff is a dome merchant. We can look at his stats. He had a 104 passer rating, 69% completion percentage last year, 8 yards per attempt, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions when he played inside. Go outside, 88 passer rating, 64.5 completion percentage, 7 yards per attempt, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, I've been talking a while, but I can concede the fact that anybody is going to play better in a controlled environment. Those stats that I just read off is a little too much to make me comfortable with Jared Goff playing outside.
Is there anything to say about him being more comfortable in his role now? He's not going to be pressing as much. Like, he trusts the offense. Ben Johnson's still there. I really thought he'd be a head coach this year. That might be the biggest retainer they've had all year is Ben Johnson back at OC.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Goff, Dylan, you're right. The splits, indoors versus outdoors, a little bit alarming. Probably the best O-line in football, though.
Yes, 100
gonna
best.
Yeah.
He's
He's
100%.
going to have time back there.
Yeah.
But if
I
you look at
think I think with Jason. Oh, sorry. No, go
please,
ahead.
Ben.
Go ahead.
This
I was
is
just
your
gonna say
team.
No, you
with-
go
with-
ahead.
No,
with
please, Ben.
with Jason Kelsey retiring, that put it to bed in terms of the offensive lines. Like, it's surpassed the Eagles at this point.
Yeah. My
Very
only concern, I'm going to say this. I am in on the Lions. As much as I came into this, I was like, there's going to be a little bit of a fall off. I look at everything I see on paper. I love it. St. Brown, Jameson Williams, obviously on the outside. My one concern is a third pass catcher, like you said. Is it going to be Khalif Raymond? Is it going to be DPJ, like we talked about? Laporta is going to be great. Gibbs and Montgomery, probably the most complementary backfield to each other. Like, they do different things, probably more than any other tandem in the league. I think what's going for the Lions is that their entire offense, save Jared Goff and Montgomery, but like their weapons are young. And I think we can see 2, 3, maybe 4 of those guys take that career year step this year. Like, there's a different level we get to with a couple of these guys. Gibbs, St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Laporta, Penei Sewell, they're all like under 24 years old, 25 years old. There's a real chance we see like a career year from 3 of these guys at the same time. It's not like we're bringing in DeAndre Hopkins or somebody that's 34 that we know their ceiling. Maybe we can squeeze one more year out of them and be
Tony
productive.
Pollard.
Yeah, maybe we can squeeze one more year out of them and be productive. The potential for these offensive weapons is what's really driving me forward, because if 2 or 3 of them had that career year, this Lions offense is going to be even better than last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the offense projects to be around the same, if not better. And you have to see improvements on the defensive end. Like,
yeah,
there's no way it's not better with the secondary. And I hear Dylan that the Lions haven't beaten elite teams that are fully healthy. I will counter by like saying that's just hard to do. So that's why you see some teams struggle to do it. But
yeah, that's fair, actually.
I think, but I mean, the Rams were playing as well as anyone towards the end of the year. Like, that was a good team by the end of the year. That was a very good team.
But they weren't.
They did.
I think Dylan's talking about the Super Bowl-like teams, the Ravens, the Niners, a healthy Chiefs more so.
What's the good thing they're not on the schedule this year? 14 of their 17 games are indoors. 14 of their 17 games are indoors. That's why I have faith in Jared Goff.
So we're looking at 14-3 for the
Lions?
No,
for sure. No, because like, if you do have concerns with Jared Goff being outside, well, Jared Goff's not outside during the regular season. And if he's really good inside, he could get an inside track to not having to really play outside. So like, if you think of it that way, like, that's a way in which it could be avoided. I also am just not I'm just not super worried about them not being able to beat elite teams, just because I think they're better. The reason they didn't beat a fully healthy Chiefs team or beat the Ravens or the 49ers last year is because their rosters weren't as good as those 3 teams. I think.
And you think they are this year?
Much closer.
I think the gap is closer. I do agree with that.
Much closer, I think.
What do you think, Karter?
And I'm not saying this is the best. I'm not saying the Lions like are going to win a Super Bowl, but I think they're in that group that can.
I think that's actually fair. They're maybe in like tier 2. I think they're in tier 2.
I think they're in
the
tier
top
2.
of tier 2. The top of tier 2, I think.
Yeah, I think they're in the top of tier 2, and then like, are the Texans tickling in tier 2? Or are they in like the top of tier 3-ish? It's
That's a big jump.
What was that, Dylan?
That's 4.
That was a 4. They're in tier 4.
My thing about the Lions was last year was awesome. Last year was unbelievable. You get on the map. But now the target's on the Lions back this year. They're favorites. They're going to be favored in almost every game preseason. The target is truly on their back this season. But I really don't think that matters. They're going to win almost every game in the trenches. Most games are indoors for the regular season. Because it's kind of like how we talked about the Ravens, where this is more of a Super Bowl question. We're not really as concerned about the Lions in the regular season. But when you think about the Lions going to the Super Bowl, obviously the secondary and the defense is a major concern. But we've seen it time and time again. Quarterback play really matters. The quarterback being able to elevate and make those key plays in the playoffs can make up for those holes on your defense, can make up for those holes in the wide receiver room like Patrick Mahomes does. That's why he's won 3 freaking Super Bowls. Jared Goff doesn't fill those holes. And Jared Goff, when the lights truly get bright, that just scares me. I will never feel comfortable with that. And I don't think anybody will, including Lions fans. I think it sounds great in the regular season. It's great. But Jared Goff, he's a quarterback where he's not quite at that Kirk Cousins tier, but he's in the second best system to be in the league behind the 49ers, where you almost can't fail. You almost can't fail as a quarterback. I feel like if you slotted 25 quarterbacks in there, the Lions are still winning 10 games.
Throw Sam Darnold in there.
10 games.
It's pretty, yeah. One stat that I noticed about the Lions, they were 4th in pressure rate last year on the D-line, 31st in sacks. Why do you think that is? Secondary was awful. Top 4 corners are new this year. We talked about it before the show. They spent their top 2 draft picks on cornerbacks. They brought in Carlton Davis, brought in Mick Robertson. They addressed the needs. Got DJ Reader on the inside to help alleviate some of that pressure on Aiden Hutchinson. The defense was the fault of this team last year, clearly, the secondary especially. I think we see an improvement there. I think they can only go up. And if that defense is a sliver better than last year and 2 or 3 of those young guys on offense make that leap like I think they will, I think this Lions team is 12, 13 wins. Would not shock me. This schedule is the main factor here as well.
Yeah.
Everything's indoors. They don't play that tough schedule again. I love the Lions this year. I think they're rightly priced as division favorites.
But what about as a Super Bowl team, Connor?
See, now I think they win a playoff game, but
I think that's
you
the
imagine the
real
Lions in the
question.
Super Bowl, it doesn't sound right to me. Like in my head, it's like, do the Lions make the Super Bowl?
It doesn't sound right to me either, but
They're regular season goats. That's what they are. They're regular season goats this year and last year. They'll hang a 17-0 banner. Would not surprise me if they went undefeated in the regular season, but then a tough game comes in the playoffs and it's like, yeah.
Sounds like Duke,
Look-
number 1 recruiting class. Put in the banners.
The Ohio State, there we go.
kidding.
Number
Yeah,
1 class from
transfer portal.
Transfer portal champions.
Signed Quinshon Judkins.
Can I do?
I'm sensing an agenda.
No agenda. We're just truth.
I'm
We're
in
ball
on the
knowers,
Lions.
Ben. We're ball knowers. That's all
Okay.
it comes down
Okay,
to.
fair enough.
I will say, I think they're very good. I win total over. I'm in on that. Super Bowl, not a shot. Especially if they have to go. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What's
Not a shot seems extreme.
But because the issue
Not a
is
shot.
where I'm in Ben's camp is if the regular season where they have a great schedule, they don't have to play outdoors very much. They go 14-3. They get the 1 seed. They get to play in Detroit all of those games, and then
Yep.
they get to play the Super Bowl in a dome.
That's true. That would,
I'm not
that would be the
apologizing
biggest
for an easy
asterisk ever.
schedule.
Would that be the biggest asterisk
No.
ever? If Detroit had an indoor playoff run the whole time, played the Super Bowl in a dome, won it, would people be like, wait a second, or they just be like, now we're good?
I would send in an appeal to Goodell. Say, hey, this isn't right. This is rigged.
Yeah.
This is rigged. Pop culture 30 seconds. Did anybody watch Receiver on Netflix?
A little bit. I watched
Yes.
2 episodes. It kind of got boring.
What do we think about Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think the guy is so weird.
Oh no,
I-
he is.
I
He's
just
like
got
this-
weird vibes, and his dad's awful.
He's like this hyper competitive, like he's got kind of that like MJ type energy of the like, you don't believe in me, F you thing to like an extreme level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he definitely has that where I'm not sure if I jive with this guy, but I'm happy he plays on my football team.
Yeah.
Also-
you want him on the
Nate-
football team. I don't want
Yeah.
to get pizza and wings with him and watch football.
No,
No. I
that's
want to do that
Kirk
with
Cousins.
Jamison Williams though. The
He can probably-
McJamo, you know, the
He
Mc,
could probably
did you
open
see
up-
that? The McDouble with the Oreo McFlurry
Probably got
on it.
some plays for us.
Yeah, I was about to
Some
say,
plus
you
EV
probably got
plays.
a nice little fan duel going on college football Saturday.
JMO's one of the boys.
There's
Yeah,
15
for
minutes
sure.
on the Lions.
Yeah,
at
there's
us.
there's 15 minutes on the Lions.
We're back.
We are back.
Yeah, we're back.
That's not going to do numbers compared to how much time we're going to spend on the Panthers.
Oh,
Well, it was a very
Remember
you
what
worry.
podcast you're on, Dylan.
well.
Yeah,
our
don't-
Lions discussion was very measured. So
I think so
like,
too.
yeah, no, we're fine. We're fine.
It won't
Let's
be
move
that
on.
way in Carolina.
Let's actually move on. I can't wait for the Panthers. I cannot wait. Tune into that episode. That'll be out the following day. Make sure to tune into that. I can't wait. Green Bay Packers plus 200 to win this division. Over under win totals 9.5. I think it's on 10 on some books currently right now. Jordan
Yeah.
Love got paid. Basically kind of the same roster coming in this year. Subtract in addition the running back. You got Aaron Jones out. You bring in Josh Jacobs. I don't know how much that really matters. Xavier McKinney in at safety. Connor, I'll start you off with the Packers.
I don't know about the Packers this year. The KarterKast was banging the drum for Jordan Love. Big Jordan Love believers the last
We
couple
all
of years,
believe.
and rightly so. He looks great last year. He got paid $220 million, 160 guaranteed. Teams have a year of tape on him this year. Are we worried about this? Is it automatically, are we just all right, he's taking another step? Because you look at the receiving room, there's 4 or 5 guys I'm like, I kind of like them, but none of them are really proven commodities. Like they were like good in bits and pieces last season. Like, oh, Romeo Doubs had a good game here. Oh, Tucker Kraft, the tight end, had a good game there. Christian Watson's I got with a hamstring injury, but he had a good 2 games. It's like, what do we do? Like there's no consistency.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is a guy that I'm going to lose money on first touchdowns on primetime.
Oh, of course. As soon as Musgrave rolls his ankle, Tucker Kraft's getting played.
Yeah, it's
But-
Tucker Kraft plus 1,800. I'm like, this guy is a tight end. He's going to get red zone targets.
No, on DK it'll be like plus 200, so
Oh, exactly.
we're done with that. But the wide receiver room, people are banging the drum saying there's 4 or 5 great young receivers. Maybe. None of them are proven. Let's see it for a whole season. Look at running back. I think Josh Jacobs is a clear downgrade from Aaron Jones. If we're getting the Josh Jacobs from 2 years ago, when he led the league, fine. He looked awful in Vegas last year, and maybe that's a victim of circumstance. Maybe. But Aaron Jones is a playmaker. He's explosive out of the backfield. I'm out on A.J. Dillon also. No explosiveness there. Neither back can replace Jones' receiving ability or explosive plays in the backfield. I think their offense is probably worse this year, even with Jordan Love taking another full offseason as a starter. I think that offense is worse.
Dylan, thoughts on the Packers?
Connor, you make some good points about the receiving core specifically. I look at the depth chart. It doesn't get me excited, but it didn't last year either. And it seemed like they
would be good as if that was your 2 through 5, maybe. Are any of them a number 1? That's my only concern.
But it was the same last year. You look at the depth chart from last year at receiver, and I wasn't excited about that either. They go out and they put up, I think, the 6th or 7th ranked receiving grade on PFF. Their passing game was good. The Packers somehow got it right again. Everybody was freaking out when they drafted Jordan Love, and they're like, oh, what are you going to do with Aaron Rodgers? You just let the guy sit behind an all-star for 2 or 3 years, and then he comes up and he did what he did last year.
And Sean Clifford will be next. No,
yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Aaron Jones,
Pratt.
You make a good point about Aaron Jones, but Aaron Jones also kind of got bit by the injury bug within the last 2 seasons. And Jacobs hasn't stayed completely healthy, to my knowledge. So I guess you can make a point there. A.J. Dillon, you're right. He's not very shifty. He's like a run-it-up-the-middle guy. He's definitely
he doesn't even do that well. He doesn't even do that well.
Yeah, as a fantasy owner there, he struggled a little bit. I think the wide receiver room is a fine point. I think they'll be just fine. The offensive line
banged up right now. There's two starters that are banged up right now.
Yeah, and the defense was average. Decent pass rush. Overall, I think we're just going to get more of the same. The schedule, kind of like the Lions, not quite as easy, but there's not a whole lot that's tough here, especially their way out of division games.
Look at week 7 to 14, Dylan. Week 7 to 14, Houston, Jacksonville, Detroit, Chicago, San Fran, Miami, Detroit again. That's a tough 7-game stretch with no break.
I don't want to rewind it back to the Lions, but the Lions also their schedule's kind of backloaded. Where the tough games they do have, it's towards the end of the season.
I feel better about the Lions' offense a lot, and maybe even the defense from this Packers team. I think both units might be head and shoulders above this Packers team.
I don't know about that. I'm not quite drinking. I'm in on Jordan Love. I'm holding my stock still, but it's not as much hype as it was coming into last year.
That was my question for y'all. Is now that he's got this guaranteed money, are we still on the Jordan Love hype train, or does that kind of take you a rung below now?
I don't think it's because of the money. I think it's because this is his 2nd year and teams have a full year of tape. I don't think the money affects it.
Yeah, I mean, the media hype is crazy right now. He's getting betted left and right for MVP too.
Which is absurd, by the way.
He doesn't have the rush upside for that.
I'm not there.
Yeah,
I like him, but I'm not there.
I'm very cautious. I was big on the Jordan Love train. Dylan and Brian, they convinced me. We were doing the previews, and I said, "All right, Dylan, Brian, I'm in on Jordan Love." It paid off last year. I think the year of tape really matters with Jordan Love. That's where I want to. I'm not, how you guys were with Anthony Richardson, where, okay, I'm cautious. I'm not going to fully buy in on this Packers team. I would never bet their over win total or bet them to win this division. I think that's a scary bet. I think the Lions are that much better than them too. I think the Bears are more of a boomer bust team than the Packers. I think
the Packers ceiling is low.
I really, it is low. I really think the Packers ceiling is 10 wins.
Yeah.
You have to really, really, really think Jordan Love is a top 3 quarterback if you think they're winning this division.
I was going to say the same thing, because you just look at it and the Lions are in a much healthier place in most other position groups. What I will say, though, is the wide receiver room, that can change very quickly for the Packers if one guy just becomes the guy, like we've talked about.
That's why I wrote it down.
Yeah, their offensive line last year struggled at times, but then got it together towards the end of the season. They sort of figured out roles. The defense, the personnel is pretty good, not great, but I do think it'll make a big difference having Jeff Hafley in there instead of Joe Barry, because Joe Barry's he was public enemy number 1 in Green Bay forever, and and I can sympathize with that, because if I'm a part of a winning organization and I see the Detroit Lions have a defensive coordinator while they go 0-16, my first thought is we need to hire that guy and we need him here for like 10 years.
That's great. One thing on the Packers. Another reason I'm out on them, you turn to the defense, it's not like they're not putting an effort. 20 defensive draft picks over the last 4 years. There's a lot of potential. They have 7 former first rounders on that defense. Got Xavier McKinney. But here's the calling card on this defense. They faced a 26th ranked schedule of offenses last year. That's projected to be top 3 this year on offense. Like, yeah, Jordan Love won't play as hard of defenses, but they will play some tough offenses. And I don't trust the defense to kind of hold up against them. I don't.
So you're saying just bet every Packers over total?
Well, you might be right. That might be the early season wave. They're playing Philly, Colts, sneaky over game. Colts, Packers, sneaky over game right there. Yeah. If you believe in Anthony Richardson,
even
like you guys do.
Philly and Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil though. Altitude difference, climate change.
Yeah, you're below the equator, so does that mean under?
Moonballs? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Moonballs.
I also wonder how many quarterbacks would turn out to be really good if they sat out 3 years before they played.
Yes.
That's a big thing for me.
Great point.
Where I'm like, because people are like, oh, the Packers, they can just find quarterbacks. I'm like, are we sure they're finding otherworldly talent quarterbacks like partially it's that, obviously, but like, I don't know, you take some of these guys who don't turn out to be all that good. It's like they started year one, got beat up behind a terrible offensive line. What if they just sat behind a Hall of Famer for 3 years and walked into a good situation? How much would that change things? That's a totally different topic, but that's sort of like a hypothesis that I've been stewing on for a little bit.
So you're saying Hendon Hooker's going to be that guy in Detroit is what you're essentially getting.
Ooh, I like that.
If you don't think Jared Goff can get him over, then maybe Hendon Hooker's that guy. Alex Smith to Mahomes type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, quoting Hendon Hooker is Patrick Mahomes from Ben Hammond. We lose all credibility as a podcast.
I think it's interesting. We're all pretty cautious on the Packers.
They have expectations.
I think
like,
I'm
the Packers
weirdly.
were sexy.
I think you guys are more cautious on the Packers than I. Like, I think they are. I think they're really good. You wouldn't make me mad saying they win the division, but like I just look everywhere and I'm like, I'm biased, but like I like the Lions more at most places.
Okay, as a Lions fan though, I think you might have PTSD from Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, no, I do, and just from my entire
PTSD
life.
From Thanksgiving Day, but it's not from football. It's from the weight I put on,
and just from my entire existence of a Lions fan. You're always gonna have some caution with the Packers, but beating Aaron Rodgers in that last game kind of like I felt like I got rid of those demons a little bit. Mm-hmm. I do think that this Packers team's like good and competitive, but they're not quite on the level the Lions are.
Yeah.
Yet.
My only thing, Packers with expectations, I'm out. Last year's sexy pick, win total 6.5, 7.5. Yeah. Great. We'll bet them to take a leap. We think they're going to take a leap this year. 10 wins. That is their floor is 10 wins is what people are saying. Like they're going to get double-digit wins for sure. I don't like the expectations surrounding this team. I don't think they've earned that yet.
Yeah. You have to bet on Jordan Love being so much better of a quarterback than Jared Goff. And no matter what you think, Jared Goff's situation, just the O-line, the play caller, the weapons, like everything about that floor is so high. Right. That Jordan Love has to turn into a top 5 quarterback for the difference to be noticeable enough that the Packers are better than the Lions.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't know if he does make that next step.
You shrug your shoulders,
yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. And also I don't want to buy that he's going to be a top 5 quarterback when we've seen time and time again when teams get a full year of tape. We see things a little differently in year 2. But let's move on. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears. Their win total is 8.5, plus 340 to win the division. Caleb Williams in at quarterback. They're the hard knocks team this year. Holy crap, the changes in this wide receiver room, running back, across the board, they are changing everything. The offensive line got added to. Everything is changing in Chicago right now. They are the biggest boomer bust team in the NFL in my eyes. This team could be 5 wins. This team could be 11, 12 wins. I think anything, I really would not be surprised by anything. And that just speaks to how you truly think Caleb Williams is going to perform in the NFL. I'll start with you, Dylan. Thoughts on the Chicago Bears coming into this season?
Not a Caleb Williams guy. Never really have been. Never really have.
You saw that Utah clip from Pardon My Take, and you thought, "Oh my gosh, this is beautiful."
Which one? I saw like 3.
Where he talked about how he just couldn't beat Utah.
Oh yes. I remember that. That was some good times. We just talked about rookie quarterbacks coming in under a bad situation, and it might just be better for them to sit out, right? And Karter, I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
No. Floor's yours.
The situation is not as bad as like Bryce Young got in Carolina, right? The right side of this offensive line is pretty weak, but the left side isn't bad. They got some wide.
Compare them. You cannot compare those situations.
It's
not even close. Bryce Young walked into a dumpster fire. Did Bryce Young have Keenan Allen off
wide
DJ
receiver
Moore?
Adam Thielen?
Yeah.
Adam Thielen.
Wide receiver
38.
3. Yeah, wide receiver 3 for the Chicago Bears is better than wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 for the Panthers.
I hear what you're saying. That was a little bit in jest. The wide receiver room at the Bears, they improved that greatly. I mean, Allen, Odunze, who has been a star in camp, right? Mm-hmm. My problem here is in college, Williams was not playing top defenses. And we've talked about this before. Williams was a stud, especially 2 years ago when he won the Heisman. Last year, not so great. USC, what, 8-4 or something like that?
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. I just can't buy into a rookie quarterback to the point to where it's like they're going to win the division or they're going to go over 8.5 wins. It's just you haven't seen it. And that, if you've watched the show, you know that's where I've gone to. Do I think that you can write F Utah on your nails and then go cry to your mom when you lose? Like, you got to pick one or the other. Don't care. You got to pick one or the other, right? And I don't like that about a quarterback.
Asterisks.
I'm not buying into the Bears. Very tough week 1 game. Can they handle the pressure of playing Tennessee week 1? I don't know. So I'm not buying the Bears. I think they made some improvements, but too big of a question mark with Caleb Williams. Not buying it.
So
Wow.
you're just not a Caleb Williams. I really feel like what this boils down to is, are you a Caleb Williams believer? And then that's if you buy in on the Bears.
I think you're right. That's fair. And
I don't
they
even
do.
think that.
You don't think that?
I don't think that's the end all be all. Like, I could be a believer in Caleb Williams, but if he's on, a horrible team, then they're going to suck. But I think this situation is there's more to say about that than there is Caleb Williams himself.
I think it's a blend of it, because I think Caleb Williams walking into a horrible situation, I think we would have just assumed, okay, this might be fun and cute, but they're winning 5 games.
Yep.
The situation he goes into, I think it's now on Caleb Williams to have them take that next step.
Did they address the defense at all this offseason? They didn't. They didn't do anything about that defense.
They got better once they got Montez Sweat.
They got Byard, who's a fine tackler, I guess, but that's really about all they did for the defense.
They play an easier schedule of quarterbacks, maybe? Like, can we point to the outside? I don't know. They didn't address much on the defense. But Caleb Williams, I'll say this about him. I came into this being like, oh, rookie quarterback, all the hype. Like, is this the highest win total ever for a rookie quarterback? Has to be. Has to be up there for like a top 3 pick. Like one that like has the expectations. No Chicago Bears quarterback has started every game in a year since Jay Cutler in 2009. So
that is awesome.
That stat was pretty
that is awesome. So good stat. To break
that. Right. Here's the thing about the Bears. Schedule of pass defenses, easiest in the NFL projected right now. That's worth noting. Bottom 5 schedule of pass rushing defenses they play against. Everything is in place for Caleb Williams to put up massive numbers. I think he will throw for damn near 4,000 yards. He's going to put up numbers. I don't know if that translates to wins. That's my only thing. You've got 3 good receivers. I will say their wide receiver room, it's not like they just stuck a bunch of pieces together and hope it works. If you really look at it, DJ Moore, one-on-one coverage, man coverage, he torches that. Keenan Allen, more of a zone buster, find the little like crevices and areas of space in the zone. And then Rome Odunze, your 3rd receiver. I'm never complaining about that. DeAndre Swift, not really a bell cow back. Excuse me.
He does not move me. That's what I was going to say.
That's the thing. In their
I've done that. I've been there, done that.
If they don't have a run game, then it's all up to Caleb Williams. And I do think he'll put up numbers, but I don't necessarily think that translates to wins. But then you look at the schedule, I think I might be in on the Bears. I think I'm in on the Bears more than the Packers.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. You're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice at quarterback.
But it's about the situation. I think Caleb Williams' situation, schedule, whatever, is better than the Packers, and those defenses are on par with each other. I think Packers and Bears defense, they're not that far apart.
I will say with the wide receiver room, yes, it's a top 5 wide receiver room in the NFL, probably 4 or 5 if we're being honest. I worry about that room staying healthy. DJ Moore,
Fair.
Very
How about
prone to have
Caleb?
Concussions. Well, I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Man. Oh my gosh, it's freaking this Panthers one. We might have to do the Trump Kamala mute button for the Panthers. This is getting insane. Anyhow, but with Keenan Allen, when was the last time he was healthy for a full season? Never, ever.
Yeah, we talked about that in the Chargers preview.
Yeah, he never stayed healthy, so I worry about that. But Caleb Williams is going into just such a good situation. He's so dynamic. The media hype's going to be behind him. Luckily, there's not enough tape to scout him yet. I'm in on the Bears. I really am in on the Bears. I'm not saying they're going to win the division, but I think they have a winning season.
Well, this could be like a C.J. Stroud situation from last year. It's like, oh, C.J. Stroud, high draft pick coming into the Texans, and they overachieve. I think the Bears could very well overachieve this year.
I think he's coming into an even better situation than we thought Stroud was going into last season.
Yeah, and that O-line, Dylan, you mentioned like one of the sides is weak. Fine. They finished top 5 in both pass block and run block win rate, and a lot of those sacks they lit up, you're going to love this, it's because Justin Fields held the ball for an eternity. It's because he was moving around, wouldn't get rid of the ball, and a lot of those sacks were not on the O-line. Like, if you really look at those blocking numbers and like metrics like that on PFF, like they did okay. This O-line's not horrible, and Shane Waldron's in an OC. I think that's a good match for Caleb Williams. I think all the cards are there. If Caleb Williams just doesn't suck and implode, I think this Bears team can win 9 games. I think everything's set up for him to put up numbers.
I have a clickbait question real quick, and then I'll let you go, Ben. Will Caleb Williams eventually be an NFL MVP, Dylan?
No.
Why?
Won't stay healthy enough.
Connor.
No, he's playing in Chicago.
I think he will be, Ben.
Just if I'm gonna get a clickbait answer, no, he's too short.
Yeah. Ben's learning the game, baby. Learning the game.
No one said the fingernails. That's what I was going for. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
He was crying. He showed emotion.
Real quick, sorry, Ben. I know I
No, you're good. You're
cut
good.
you off, but I really hope week 1 he puts on his fingernails. F. Levis.
FTENN.
That would be awesome.
All right, Ben. Bears.
I think this is a boom or bust team, and I think it's boom or bust by week, like
Boom or doom?
week by week.
Boom or
Like
doom?
I just think boom or doom. I both boom and doom.
So
I
who
just
is
think
the
that-
Rizzler on the Bears?
I just think
real quick, I had people reach out to me that listen to the podcast and were like, "What was that SEC segment? I don't understand," because I forget people. Not everyone knows who the Costco is.
Yeah, I showed it to Alexis. She had no idea. She was like, "What is that?"
She doesn't
Abby
know
hated
Costco
it.
guys?
Oh.
No.
Oh my goodness! All right, Ben.
Okay, what I was gonna say is I just think this is a team. Yeah, it rides a lot on Caleb Williams. I think the other pieces are there to at least make them entertaining. I think they're kind of like a 500-ish team, likely. And I think there's some weeks where you watch Caleb Williams and you go, "Oh my goodness, like this guy is the real deal." It's like a future MVP, and they beat a really good team. Like they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving or something. I think that's the Thanksgiving game is Lions.
It is, yeah.
I could totally see that because the Lions don't win on Thanksgiving for no reason. But like I could totally see something like that, and then they're playing, a team like Tennessee, and then he's throwing 3 picks, and you're
Or
like,
they play
what
Carolina.
in the world? Yeah, what is going on? So they're gonna win some games against some of the best teams in the NFL randomly, and they're gonna lose to some of the bottom feeders in the NFL, and you're just gonna be kind of confused. And it's going to be based off Caleb Williams. Like, I think he's going to have those days where he looks like a future MVP. And he's also going to have those days where you're like, he's seeing ghosts out there. So I think he's eventually like a elite level quarterback in this league. I think you see flashes of it this year. I think you also see flashes of the fact that he's a rookie quarterback starting in his first year and, tasked with carrying this load. So I think they're an 8-9 win team, a fun team, a team that if you're one of the best teams in the NFL, you don't want to see them. but a team that if you're one of the worst teams in the NFL, you can beat them.
Ben, I think you nailed it. This team, there's going to be
great.
no rhyme or reason to this team when week to week. They're going to be playing the Vikings, and you're going to be like, oh, Bears minus 3.5 at home? Why would they not? And they lose by 12 for no reason. Caleb Williams throws 3 picks, and especially the way Caleb Williams plays, I've made this comparison before, but it's genuinely like how we play college football 25, how we play Madden. He's a Madden quarterback, the way he plays. It's crazy throws. It's running out of the pocket. It's, you're dancing around. I think that's a great point, because then you're going to be like, oh, they're playing the Chiefs this week. No, they're not going to win. And then all of a sudden, then Caleb Williams throws for 5 touchdowns and runs one in, and you're like, oh my goodness. He's also, I do love him for fantasy purposes, by the way.
That's my only concern about Caleb Williams, Carter, is what you just said. Can he play in a system? Can he make quick, decisive decisions? Because if he runs around like Fields did, he's going to get sacked 50 times again.
Yeah,
like,
and he's going to get hurt. Not even just that. He's going to get hurt.
They have to hammer that like hero ball USC. I'm the only guy on this offense. They have to hammer that mindset out of him. Yeah. I think he'll be okay. And he's got the weapons. Cole Kmet, 1 drop and 88 targets. Like, he's got the safety valve.
Dylan, give me a record prediction for the Bears.
7-10.
I'm going 9-8, Ben.
I'll go 8-9.
Connor.
9-8, because their first 10 weeks are a cakewalk. You look at their first 10 weeks. Oh my god!
But they'll lose some of those games, though.
No, yeah.
Week 1.
They're not winning week 5, I believe, in October.
It is week 5, yeah.
Yeah, they're not winning week 5 at home against Super Bowl MVP Bryce Young. But anyhow, future Super Bowl MVP Bryce Young. I apologize. Sorry, I didn't want to spoil things for people. Anyhow, Vikings. This is depressing. This team should be better. J.J. McCarthy obviously got injured. They're plus 850 to win this division. Over/under win total 7.5. Sam Darnold coming in from the 49ers. He's QB1, I guess, there. I think we eventually see Jaron Hall at some point again this season for the Vikings. It's just one of those disaster off seasons for the Vikings. It's everything that could go wrong. As a Charlotte Hornets fan, it's very Charlotte Hornets-esque. You're like, oh, what happened? I don't even want to get into that part.
Don't get me started.
But disaster off season, your first round quarterback hurt. Aaron Jones in at running back, positive. Hawkinson coming off a torn ACL. Jordan Addison
won't play till
getting hurt
November.
in camp. Yep, Jordan Addison getting hurt coming into camp, high ankle sprain. One of the toughest schedules in football right now. I am very, very, very concerned for the Vikings, and I think we all should be, Connor.
Yeah, I don't have too much on the Vikings other than there's only so many positives you can pull away from this situation. A positive is Justin Jefferson's fully healthy. Had an offseason. He's back this year. He missed a ton of time last year, him and Manny Cousins both. Jordan Addison will have less attention on him this year with Jefferson back. I think that's a positive. Josh Oliver season, Dylan. Josh Oliver anytime touchdown will be back until November, till Hawkinson's back. So
I love
positive there. Look, obviously J.J. McCarthy, as much as I rag on him, he has a ton more upside than Sam Darnold. Like, he is the future of that team in their mind. But Sam Darnold might win them more games this year alone. I think if you plug Sam Darnold in, he's probably winning more than McCarthy would have this year. And so I think, this Vikings team, they have the potential to beat a really good team. If Jefferson all of a sudden goes off for 200 yards, I'm not going to be shocked. And guess what? Sam Darnold paired with O'Connell at head coach. O'Connell made the most of his quarterbacks last year after Cousins went down. You got Nick Mullins coming in, starting games, and all of a sudden they're still winning. Well, Jaron Hall's there, Nick Mullins, whoever. He still got the most out of them. I think he'll get the most out of Sam Darnold in his last true opportunity to be a starter in this league. And 7.5 wins. I don't think they get to 7, but they could beat a couple of these really good teams and play spoiler on this schedule.
And you look at the Vikings' talent on their roster.
It's there.
It's really there. And also, Justin Jefferson was still just as good even without Kirk Cousins when it was Nick Mullins' time or whoever was playing quarterback for the Vikings last season.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson was still good. He's still going to be good with Sam Darnold. Even for if you're listening to this and you're thinking about your fantasy draft, Justin Jefferson is still quarterback proof stats-wise.
Yeah.
And also,
if you look at Darnold Carter, you mentioned him, 8 of his last 8 games with at least 14 pass attempts, he's been above average QBR. He hasn't been horrible. You give him real weapons and like a decent offensive line, he's an average quarterback. He's not going to be this 2-win quarterback.
You're saying he's Jared
Goff.
Goff.
I'm not saying
they do play in a dome.
I'm not saying that. You're going to rile Ben up.
I know how disastrous this Vikings offseason has been, but I also think a problem for the Vikings is that they're not going to be bad enough where they're going to be in a top 5 pick conversation because they just have too much talent.
Yeah.
But 7-10 just feels right on the nose for the Vikings. I think the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears are going to overlook this team in division games, and a couple of them are going to get burned in those division games. But I just don't think the Lions or the Vikings have enough, and I just worry about the defense. I think Dallas Turner is going to be great. I think that was an excellent draft pick. But
They got Van Ginkel. They signed Stephon Gilmore. They improved. They blitzed at the highest rate last year by far.
Stephon Gilmore. They overpaid.
They did. But I think they're going to take the same like boom or bust approach where it's like we are going to blitz the hell out of every team, and if it works, it works, and if not, then we lose. But
Yeah,
I think there's potential there.
I think there is a real floor, but I don't think there's even a ceiling for this Vikings team. I think there's just a 6-7 win floor. I don't even know if 10 wins is a possibility for this Vikings team in my eyes. Ben. Dylan.
Go, Dylan.
Well, yeah, I'll just touch on it real quick. Connor, you're right about Justin Jefferson. The wide some of the pieces are there. I also like what you said about Sam Darnold. We can reflect on his time in the NFL, and he hasn't been put in the best of situations, I would say. He can sling the ball. The question just is, can he do it accurately, I think? Justin Jefferson elevates this team. Go ahead, Connor.
If Sam Darnold sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years, is he in a different position right now? Because I think he is.
Yeah, 100, that's a great example. And you look at the offensive line. This was the second highest rated offensive line in pass blocking last year. The tackles are great. The interior offensive line, I'm not bought into, but there will be some semblance of protection for Darnold. I'm not really worried about the offense as much as I am the defense. They just were not good on defense last year. But, I think it comes down to Darnold. What do we expect from Darnold? What do we expect from the interior of this offensive line? You could tell me they win 10 games. That doesn't surprise me. You guys talked about the schedule. They have a couple tough games here, but at Giants, at Tennessee, I know. They get to host the Jets. They host the Colts. They host the Cardinals. They host the Falcons. I think there's some winnable games in there that could get them above 500.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know. That's a tough schedule.
Maybe I've noticed a theme here. Every time I say that it's not a tough schedule, people like to push back and say that is a tough schedule.
Well,
maybe I have a different impression of what a tough schedule is.
I think you do, because I think we think very differently about every football team.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That's probably fair, right?
If only the USA could think like that. It's like, we have differences. You're right.
I think this schedule's brutal, man. Obviously Giants week 1, but Niners, Texans, Packers, Jets is not going to be an easy
Packers.
game.
What do you want? What do you want them to do? Well, of course.
I understand. That means they have a hard schedule, is what I'm saying.
I'll chalk up 3-3.
The Lions.
This is a 3-3 division.
No, it's not.
No,
yeah.
I disagree with that.
This is a 3-3er. You're telling me the Lions going to Green Bay? I don't even care if it's at the end of the season. I think they go the first week in November.
That's the worst.
Going to Chicago.
We've won 2 in a row in Green Bay.
Okay. All right. I'm just saying. I'm chalking up 3-3.
I think it's 3-3 for Chicago and Green Bay. I think it's 4-2 for the Lions, 2-4 for Minnesota.
If I had to bet, I would also bet on that. That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anything else on the Vikings, Ben?
I just think when JJ McCarthy got hurt and then there was the Jordan Addison injury scare, I think people imagine this Vikings team bottoming out.
And the Jordan Addison lawsuit, right? Isn't he in legal trouble for speeding or something?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's
sort of an annual thing.
Yeah, that's a 10% of the wide receivers in this league. They're in legal trouble, and you think they're suspended, but then some aren't and some are, and you just don't.
You're like,
as a Hornets fan,
you're like,
numb to it. I'm numb to it.
What is actually happening with Rashee Rice?
We're not going to get into it, but I was watching that Lions Chiefs preseason game, and I was like, Rashee Rice is playing? What?
Everything you've heard in the news cycle is Rashee Rice is done, and then he's on the field.
Yeah. but don't you dare gamble on college football games in the hotel. 6 games for you.
Sorry. Run is fine, but you better not get on FanDuel.
Beat your baby mama to a pulp.
That's okay. That's okay. Anyway, that not getting into the double standard of NFL punishments, but I do think this Vikings team avoids bottoming out, but like still, I don't think it's great. So it's like I think they're kind of like
they're gonna be that middle of the road.
Oh, what's their win total?
6.5. 6.5.
Oh, I have
okay.
7.5.
I would. I think it was 7.5, maybe. Like I think it's drop. Yeah, the value of that's dropping, and like. If it's dropping, I like the over. Like I like them as like a 7-10 kind of team. Like I think their defense is also pretty good. Brian Flores has put them in a good position there. They've got the receivers. TJ Hawkinson, like I think it's going to be a while before we see him at full strength. So like I think that hurts you. But like at the end of that season, it was just Nick Mullins chucking the ball around to Justin Jefferson. They're beating bad teams, losing to good teams. I think that's sort of what we see this year, even though Sam Darnold's obviously an improvement over Nick Mullins. But this is a 7-10 Vikings team in my mind.
Yeah, because 6.5, I kind of like. I
like the Vikings there.
It's going down.
So
I like the Vikings there.
FanDuel's 7.5 plus 134 to the over. Then the consensus is over 6.5 minus 150. So it just depends where you go.
I don't choose that much, but
yeah.
But last question on the Vikings: Sam Darnold to lead the league in passing yards. Dylan, I know you looked at it.
He has the arm talent. Like the dude can sling it. It's just a matter of how accurate can he be. He's playing in a dome. Like that's huge. The first time in his career he's going to be playing in a dome. So
great receiving back in Aaron Jones.
Yep. I don't hate. I didn't take it because I'm already overexposed on Will Levis, but I don't hate it.
You're not the only one exposed on Will Levis. I'm
okay.
All right.
Karter, next.
Let's close up shop here. Division winners, Dylan.
I'm going Packers. I'm not going to go chalk with the Lions. You know, Packers plus 230. Do I think the Lions actually do it? Probably, but at minus money, no. I'm going to go Packers.
The Lions are minus money?
What, plus 130 maybe?
Plus 130.
I still want the Packers.
I'm going Lions. Don't overthink it. Don't be stupid. Their schedule's so easy. They're going to be favored in 14, 15 of their games probably this season. They are going to have a very, very nice regular season. I think the only question I have about the Lions is, are they a true Super Bowl contender? I don't know if they are. I think the Lions could honestly go 13-4. I really do.
I agree. I'm division winner here. I'm going Lions as well. It's chalk, but it's the right answer in this division with that schedule with 14 of 17 games indoors. I trust Detroit in the regular season. Like you said, Carter, 13, 14 wins. I wouldn't bat an eye. I think that could easily happen.
Ben?
Yeah.
Packers?
Yeah. It Bears, actually. No.
That would be fantastic. I walked in here, I said, I want to pick the Bears, and I just couldn't get over the defense.
It'd just be funny if it was it would just be funny if it was me. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go with the Lions for the same reasons you guys have said. Based off of what you guys have said, I'm making some conclusions in my head. Do you guys think they're the 1 seed? Because that's kind of my.
It would be
I
crazy.
think you guys might be saying that. I think you guys might be saying that without realizing you're saying it. Because are the 49ers going to win 13 games in the regular season?
I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it's either them or their Niners, and I think one of them wins 13 games.
Is there a drop-off after the first 2 teams in the NFC? I know Dylan will say no. I think there is. I think if it's not the 49ers, it's the Lions, and any other team in the NFC would kind of surprise me outside of maybe Philly.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm low on Dallas. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think those are the only 3 teams that I could see winning the NFC.
Panthers are kind of in that next tier.
I'll be honest, you guys are going to clown me. I love the Falcons. I love the Falcons this year.
We'll see. Great segue.
Click on this video.
That's what I'll put the card in there. But anyhow, all lines around except for Dylan, who's on the Packers. And real quick fire, favorite win total, Dylan.
Bears under 8.5.
Ben.
I think I like the Vikings over. I'll say 6.5. I like that.
Love the Lions over 10.5. I think 10.5 is way too low.
Let me go Lions over 10.5 too. Don't overthink it. All right, that does it from us. Download SeatGeek app. Use code KarterKast on your first purchase. $20 off. Make sure to subscribe. Subscribe. Follow us on all social media at KarterKast on everything. We will be back. Check out all the NFL, NFC, AFC, college football conferences, week 1, all the previews. There's so much content we're putting out there right now. Make sure to tune into all of it. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. We'll see y'all next time for the NFC preview. We'll see y'all there. Bye-bye.